A band that was pretty influential on your music taste, very important to your formative years. Is that right?
No, I hate this band.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shiloh, and I'm here with my co-host Micah.
Your Corp.
And we're bringing you guys another episode of the New Music Podcast. Today, we're going to be running through 5 albums that came out in the last week to 2 weeks. We got some really interesting stuff to run through today. And Micah, do you want to tell them exactly what those interesting things are?
To start things off, we have I Don't Know How But They Found Me with their new album GLOOM Division, the second LP from rock duo. And then we have MGMT coming with a heater with a new album, Loss of Life. It's been 6 years since their last LP, right?
I think so, and I think that's their biggest gap yet. Am I wrong in that?
It is.
Okay.
No, it is their biggest gap.
Gotcha. Big comeback.
Big comeback. And then we have Job for a Cowboy with another big comeback. It's been 10 years since their last album.
Yes.
Moon Healer. They have healers on the moon.
Indeed. It's also kind of a sequel to their previous album as well, it looks like. Like their 2014 album had a similar aesthetic.
Yeah, it was Space Zombie Deathcore.
Yeah, something like that.
And then we have an EP on the list with Puzzle Teats Aural. Say that word.
Aural Solvent.
Where's the O?
Right there.
It's in the solvent.
It's in the solvent.
And then Amigo the Devil with his third album, Yours Until the War Is Over, following their 3-year album rotation.
Nice, yeah. Some very niche cuts mixed in with some very mainstream cuts this time around. We got a little balance going on. Lots happening here. I do want to say before we start talking about our first album of the day, make sure to drop a like on the video if you like what you see here today. We really appreciate those of you coming back in between each episode of this podcast. It's awesome to see. So yeah, drop a like and share it with your friends if you like this episode.
And if you hate it, share it also.
So yeah, share it then too. Yeah. Interaction, it's great. Anyhow, let's float on in.
We have Not Panic at the Disco with their new album, GLOOM Division.
Sound like them.
Yes, indeed.
But is this considered like indie rock or just rock?
There's a little bit of everything that you could kind of pull from. A lot of pop elements, so maybe you would go even more so towards the direction of indie pop. It definitely has a lot of rock elements though as well. It kind of just fits into the general landscape of fairly easy to listen to, standard catchy songs in that pop rock field, I guess.
Man, I'd say, overall, the one thing that bugs me about this record the most is the guy on the album cover isn't wearing shoes.
Wait, is he not?
No.
Oh, yeah, he just kind of like stepped in the black paint or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Why does that bother you?
If you don't wear shoes, where are you gonna go?
Wherever you want, I suppose.
Not without your Chevrolettes.
I suppose. I feel like the black paint's kind of a little bit of a metaphor. They got this whole gloom aesthetic thingy going on. It's like a very loose concept, and it's a concept that I think could have been elaborated on quite a bit. There's clearly a intentional thematic focus, and I think kind of our cover here and the colors used in it are certainly driving some of that home. Would you say so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This album's got a vibe, and it's not quite crying at the function.
Not quite.
It's
definitely a lot more upbeat than that, which is kind of strange given the concept.
Yeah, it's crying in the backseat of your homie's car while they're having a good time.
Right, sure. Yeah, maybe we could look at it like that. There's a bit of a fun aesthetic, but it's somewhat depressive and cynical. I guess cynical would be a very good word for it lyrically. It seems like they're doing a lot of like commentary, some music industry criticism things that I was picking up on throughout it.
Any tracks you would like to specifically cite for that?
Maybe one of the bigger examples that we've got going on for that theme that I can think of off the top of my head here is Speak of the Devil, or however you want to abbreviate all of that. Portrays a character of like this edgy rocker thing going on, but like, again, it's got like a cynical tone to it in general. And then we, of course, have that closer on here, Idiots of Oz. Kind of feels like there's people who are bigger in the industry trying to control the moves of the smaller artists and so on and so forth. Kind of seems to be somewhat of the thematic focus. So I guess that's kind of where I'm getting at with a few examples of that commentary placed in here. But again, I think a little bit more could have been done with this concept. It's a little bit all over the place.
Feels like the bones to a potentially great album. So is that fair?
That's kind of how I was feeling about the Idols one, and it's interesting that you say that because I was also pretty heavily anticipating this album, and again, I would kind of agree. Yeah, I think that they've got a good core going on here, but I don't think it has the finishing touches that Razzmatazz did at all.
Yeah, I feel like do we have what we rated Razzmatazz?
At the time, I gave it a 9 out of 10, which I don't know if I still would. I think we're closer to like an 8 range, just because I've kind of wandered away from this like emo pop punk type scene a little bit more.
I think
this kind of Hot Topic core.
I think I gave it an 8 or a 7.5, right?
Somewhere around there. I definitely don't remember you disliking that album, but I know that back in 2020 I was specifically playing it, and I don't think you really were coming back to it when we were like hanging out and stuff anyways.
No, over time though, I did end up going back to it, just for a couple like random tracks on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think this album has a song like Nobody Likes the Opening Band, where it's a very conceptual, like concise piece and has an aesthetic going on. It doesn't even really have those really punchy, super catchy moments. Mad IQs was the example that I gave when I was writing, but there's several examples across that album where it's just like, oh man, those choruses hit hard as hell. I think this album is all really like fun to listen to while it's on, but I don't have those moments that are sticking with me.
For this album, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what a funny synonym for not sticky is.
I don't know if there's a word. Glossy? That's all that's coming to my mind.
I don't want to say smooth.
Yeah, no, it's not smooth because they definitely are going for that kind of same punchy pop structured verse chorus thing. There's a little bit of like a vintage aesthetic, kind of pulling from some like popular 80s sounds. I noticed some like new wave and classic rock placed in throughout too, so
it's Starbucks at the thrift store vibes.
Starbucks at the thrift store. Man, that's an aesthetic.
Not like taking Starbucks to a thrift store, like opening a small, you know, like the little Starbucks and Targets.
This image is so funny.
Put one of those.
I think this could play at that small Starbucks within a thrift store. This hypothetical situation.
Hypothetical, bro. I'm on it. I've done it.
I feel like you can hear this at the mall for sure. It's just pretty passable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to offend anybody.
No, it's definitely not bad to really anybody who's gonna listen to it, but I think that this band had a lot of potential to make something really huge and like a grand artistic statement that was conceptual front to back, and this is not that. This is like a collection of okay or mostly good songs, I would say.
Just okay beats to play around your work friends.
There's a place for that in music for sure.
Yeah.
I think that this is, it's inoffensive pop rock, but it's pretty fun to listen to. So like you can't really knock it, but you can't really love it either. is how I feel anyways.
Yeah.
Did you have favorite tracks specifically that you'd like to point out?
I fucked with the opener. I think the opener beat has been my favorite track.
One of my favorites as well, yeah.
Downside.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, Infatuation
Infatuation's cool.
was another solid track. Otherwise, I don't really see myself really coming back to any of the others, or even those ones, really.
Rather than Infatuation, I also specifically picked out Find Me. I appreciate the vibe of it. Again, it's kind of on that Hot Topic core a little bit, but like I've got nostalgia for that, so it ended up kind of being my favorite on here, I think. I just appreciate the vibe of it. It's nothing too deep, but it sounds really good to me. And then I also liked Satanic Panic because I think it's the closest thing we have to conceptual, really well thought out song, because it is calling back to the era of some of the sounds that they're pulling from, that like 80s, again, Satanic Panic phenomena that happened there, and it does focus on a actual concept from the front to back of the song. Like, it has a topical focus that feels clear. Do you know what that refers to, the Satanic Panic stuff?
No.
Oh, okay, gotcha. In the 80s and around there, that was kind of a buzzing term for like when
for the D&D nerds and their devil cards.
Yeah, that and like metal music was being very demonized during that time, and that song seems to literally focus on that time period in a pretty cool way. Do you have specific least favorites on here?
Closer, Idiots of Oz. That one was really just kind of like the only one I could really pick out or pick on.
I think that it shows them leaning towards the thematic focus. But again, this album is so weakly executed with its concept that it does actually end up being one of my least favorites as well.
Yeah. I have a genre tag, theater kidcore.
Yeah, that's actually so funny because I don't really know if it was just Brad Taste that popularized it or if this was a term that was used a lot before, but theatercore is a thing that was said. And
really?
It's almost like a critical genre tag that people have been placing on things in kind of the internet era as a term, and it definitely is. I think that maybe Razzmatazz actually falls a little bit more into theatercore, but it's
100%.
It's in a way that I like, though. Here I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's okay.
You would have been a theater kid.
I wasn't, though. You knew me.
You could have been.
I could have been. You're right.
That's what I was saying. I wasn't saying you are.
Right. In an alternate dimension.
Not even an alternate one. Just one where there was it was more available.
Maybe that's true, yeah. I didn't really ever get into extracurriculars, so maybe if I
we
would
were
have, that would have
edgelords.
been me. Yeah. And
we were too busy smoking cigarettes up the bazoo.
too busy listening to fucking emo music
Hollywood
and smoking
Undead.
cigarettes. Yeah,
Little
Hollywood
Pete.
Undead. Oh, fuck yeah. I guess if you think about it, this kind of ties in to the same world as where My Chemical Romance exists.
Yeah.
And if you look at something like The Black Parade is also extremely theatrical, but again, in a good way that I love a lot.
I finally listened to that album, by the way, in 2022, 2021.
Oh yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, it's fine. It's alright.
Oh, alright. The other least favorites that I wanted to call out real quick was Gloomtown Brats, just because I thought lyrically it's a little misguided and unlikable, and I just thought the sound of it was a little bit more boring than the rest. And then that interlude is misguided. It's very poorly mixed. Yeah, a letter.
That is my actually least favorite track, but it's not a track, it's an interlude.
Yeah, I like to count interludes sometimes, especially when they're longer like that one is, just because it should be doing more for the album than it is. It was a good idea, but the way they executed it is really sloppy in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all our thoughts on it. Would you say so?
Yeah. What was your final score?
My final score on this one was a 67%. A 67 that I would have loved to be above the 80 mark, but unfortunately not.
You gave it a 67?
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a 68.
68, perfect. Well, we're right about on the same page then, sitting at a 67.5%, but we'll get all into that at the end.
I'm looking at the album of the year review really quick though, and all the critics gave it an 80.
That seems totally fitting. It seems like something critics would kind of dig. Like publications anyways.
Losers. Critics are losers.
Who would do that, right?
Idiots would.
Idiots. I think that sums it all up, and let's go on into our next one.
If you're listening and you have the ability to sponsor us with a new browser, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, we're already using an alternative, so in the future, I mean, shit. Well, I'm already using an alternative, so hey, man.
I'm downloading Opera GX.
One of those for sure. Yeah, hit us up for real. We had a little bit of technical difficulty if that wasn't evident, but I think it happened at a pretty convenient time because it's time for us to roll into MGMT's Loss of Life.
Like fish in the lobby, dead and gone, dancing in Babylon. Afraid of the bubblegum doll that's finally catching up with me. Half of love is joking, half of love is still love.
A band that was pretty influential on your music taste and very important to your formative years. Is that right?
No, I hate this band.
Oh, is that so? Is that why I got so many MGMT requests to listen to throughout the years of our high school friendship?
You thought those were requests?
Yeah, that was my interpretation. Yeah.
Interpreted wrong.
Gotcha. Well, in reality, I do believe this should be a pretty meaningful one for you. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I was hyped.
That makes perfect sense.
Long-awaited album, MGMT Loss of Life. I even wrote down what I guess is your score.
That makes a lot of sense because I've been running through the MGMT discography in full before this one, just because I kind of knew all of the albums but never gave them a full dive. All of my ratings are on Album of the Year, by the way. You can follow us on there through the link.
Yes, sir.
And I ended up loving the self-titled and the more recent Little Dark Age. Those are my favorites of the run for sure. So I'm curious to see what you predicted I would score this one.
I'll tell you once we get to our scoring.
Gotcha.
But in the meantime, it's kind of felt like another, not victory lap album, but another album where they just don't give a shit what anyone really expects them to sound like.
Yeah, and it's very much so reminiscing on the past, would you say?
Yeah. They did this again with Oracular Spectacular. When that popped off, they're like, oh yeah, let's do Congratulations. When Congratulations came out, it was kind of polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
But little 7-year-old me was always like, oh, fuck yeah, there's a cat surfing on this.
That's awesome. That has kind of become the fan favorite with time, too. Honestly, I'm on the side of the spectrum that doesn't like it as much still, which I suppose is the outdated view, but...
I saw this review of Congratulations. Someone gave it like a 26, recently.
Oof, that's rough. That's far too harsh.
Whoa. Imagine being wrong.
I feel like I'm wrong and I gave it a 70, but that's a different album to discuss entirely. How do you feel about this one as somebody who's such a long-time fan?
Upon listens 1 through 3, it was kind of a little disappointing in some ways because it wasn't my expectation.
Okay.
Then I went through and gave it the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th listen.
That's a lot of listens.
No, I ended up once it clicked, I was like, ooh, I can smell it. And I get it.
Yeah. I had a somewhat similar experience in that I was a little underwhelmed at first, but liked it. And now I think I'm probably at my 4th listen, I'm appreciating it more.
Definitely. I also just went through, I'm listening to the album again while we're talking about it, and track 3 started playing, and I was like, oh, what's my rating for this? This deserves a 10 out of 10 on my track list. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I already gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, Dancing in Babylon, that is such a good one. Well, I mean, realistically, most of the tracks here are really good. Is it the first MGMT song with a feature ever? Because I don't think they have a feature on any of the albums.
I believe it is the first listed feature. They might have had somebody featuring just never say anything and never tell us.
Gotcha, yeah, like production credits. I know that Ariel Pink, unfortunately, had a production credit on Little Dark Age.
We didn't know back then.
Yeah. Nobody knew. There's been like minor collabs for sure, but like this is the first listed one, and I think it goes down really well. This duet thing they have going on is super sick.
I think we've done a duet thing before, but I think it was with himself.
Yeah, right. Or
Oh no, there was on the song Little Dark Age. I think there was a feature. Let me check.
while you check that, am I right in that both members sing sometimes?
Yes.
Or does he just... Okay, I was wondering if he just
I
had
think
a
so.
variety of vocal tones that layer, or if this...
He also does.
Okay, gotcha.
I think he sings on Me and Michael a little bit.
That would make sense, yeah. There's a few songs where I felt like I was hearing two voices. But this one's the most distinct, for sure, with Christine and the Queens here. I mean, that's a female voice, so, I mean, harsher contrast and more utilized by far than anything in the past.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Real
definitely.
quick. So because there is so few on this album, was there any bad tracks? Actually, not so few. There's none. There's no bad tracks on this album. What was your
No.
least favorite track?
My least favorite, if we're gonna get into that right away, I think Nothing to Declare ends up being my least favorite, just because it seems like the simplest and least adventurous song. But if you are to isolate it, it's still like an 8 out of 10 song. Like, it's still really good.
You gave it the worst rating out of all of them. That's your least favorite?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites.
Nothing to Declare is?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, get into what you love about that one.
It blew my dick clean off. Like, I swear to God, it's like a Beatles song that they ended up like sampling with the guitar,
Oh, that's true. It does sound a little Beatles.
and it just like, because MGMT's already a nostalgic band for me, so them slapping on more nostalgia on top of my nostalgia, Beatles with my grandpa.
The Beatles are strangely a recent thing for me. Like, I never cared about the Beatles through many, many years, and then I listened to their whole discography in like 2 days, and now Revolver is one of my favorite albums.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
It just like feels like a good memory,
Gotcha.
but the lyrics, no,
Not good memory, you think?
not good memory. Give me like read this really quick.
I think it's cool that they have kind of a double entendre in the title, being like, you're declaring your baggage to go somewhere, and then that's used as the baggage under your eyes. That ties in. There's a lot to like
Oh yeah.
process in the title, and that's cool because the song is also kind of about not having anything to say, I think. Do you think that's accurate? Like, you've said everything there is to say?
Yeah, and that's why that circles back to my statement. This is just like another oracular, spectacular congratulations loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does loop back. There's specific mentions.
Like they make all the money,
Yeah.
top the charts, do their thing, and they're like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying
Right.
to say what we want to say, but we just like hearing what they have to say.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they're like, how do we feel about this?
I think that Bubblegum Dog ties into that kind of reminiscing on what they've been having as a goal throughout the whole career, because the Bubblegum Dog itself seems to be a metaphor for like simplistic pop music.
Yeah,
Yeah. What seems to be said is that they're running away from that and have spent so much time avoiding being simple pop music, but now they're kind of appreciating that and being like, wow, I was really pretentious through a lot of those years. That's what I get from Bubblegum Dog.
oh yeah, 100%. Have you seen the music video for Bubblegum Dog?
I have not. I've not seen any music videos for this one.
It's so weird. They have very interesting videos. There's no bad MGMT music video.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh,
I could see that. I literally haven't seen any, but I would bet that their visuals are cool.
I'm listening to that track again with the music video, and the dudes are deetin'.
The dudes are deep.
Man, dudes are deetin'. I recommend everybody go back and watch this music for the song Flash Delirium.
Flash Lyric.
That was like their first music video that was like, whoa. But they have a lot of good ones. Like Your Life Is a Lie, that's potentially one of their best music videos.
That's one of their best songs too. Hot take alert.
Take alert. But
I
all of the music
love
is really
that
good,
song.
especially the When You Die, but on the Little Dark Age album. That music video is also awesome.
Gotcha.
I'll get into fucking MGMT music videos for like 2 hours, so let's move on.
Yeah. I also thought that it was cool, just one last comment on that song specifically, that Bubblegum Dog sounds more like a pop song than the rest of the album.
Yeah.
It really ties back around. There's so many clever things about this album.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And then Nothing Changes after Nothing to Declare, just like
Mm-hmm.
hits me in the like crippling existential dread of your actions.
Yes. Yeah. There's very existential things happening and some really deep introspection happening on the back half of this album. I'd say with the exception of is it Frady's song? Is that the pronunciation?
Yep.
Okay.
And segueing into Frady's song. Frady's song is actually my least favorite.
What? No way.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
That song is beautiful. What didn't you like about it?
It was a great track. I just felt like every other track was better.
Oh, man.
Just a little bit. It's so close.
Yeah, there's no songs below 8 out of 10 for me. Like, I'll say that much. But that's one of my top songs, if not my favorite, strangely. I think that it's really sweet that it's a song for his daughter, too.
Oh, damn.
Did you not know that? Because it makes sense to not know that. I was just, like, reading up on the album quite a bit to kind of process it more fully.
No, I didn't know that. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
My feelings.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm so glad that you didn't know that.
That wouldn't upgrade my score, though, because I try to be as objective as possible, and I'm already really biased towards this band.
That makes sense. I think that it adds a little bit of context that helps make the song more meaningful, and I just thought it was really sweet. And it sounds so, like, interdimensional, too. Like, imagine getting a song written for you that just sounds like outer space. That's fucking rad.
I was gonna say, that's like, hell yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, for real. This whole album, though, to a degree, like, there's some stripped back, more intimate moments, but a lot of it, like Nothing Changes, we mentioned before as well, and maybe the closer, just sound so intergalactic. It's just like I'm taken to another place outside of the fucking dimension. It's really cool what their progression has looked like in those psychedelic moments.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. What was your favorite track on the album? Was it Frady's song?
That's my second favorite, because I think that Nothing Changes did a little bit more for me.
I Wish I Was Joking was my favorite track.
That song didn't strike me at first, but it's really grown on me. The very strange, again, kind of cynical tone to it, and the irony going on with it is really cool. Again, I think it's a clever track that there's a lot to dissect.
Oh my god. This album makes me, like, cry.
I think it will. I think it will with time. I think I'm gonna come back to this and, like, have a fucking mental breakdown at some point.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it real. I ate an edible when I was at the card shop, and I was just a little stony baloney, and I Wish I Was Joking came on, and I was just started fucking bawling.
Oh,
I have no idea why.
That's crazy. I think that song can do that too.
Oh, it was also raining.
Oh man, those vibes would be immaculate.
And it was nighttime.
Nighttime raining with I Wish I Was Joking sounds incredible.
Yeah, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, this album's a fucking lot. Like, it's really very profound, I think.
Extremely.
Yeah, it's not even only on an existential and emotional level, but hearing it after the rest of their discography is so crazy.
Let me add
God, the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, is this just their best album? Like, it's wild. No? What do you think is?
Congratulations.
I don't fuck with Congratulations. What's your second favorite?
Probably this.
Okay. Well,
I mean, Oracular Spectacular was really good though, but I don't like Electric Feel.
Oracular Spectacular is iconic, and I think that's, like, as far as it goes. It's not very deep. Like, it's got songs that matter so much.
Oh my god, Lost of Life is playing right now. All right. Closing notes on this so that we have time for the other albums, because we're already 45 minutes deep.
We're yapping.
We're yapping, bro.
Yapping.
I don't have this much to say about any of the other albums, though.
I don't think we're gonna have this much to say about many other albums ever.
You'd be surprised. I've seen, like, what's coming out.
Mm.
There's some, like, heaters in there.
There are some heaters, for sure, but this one's, like, so much to unpack. Like, this is another one, like the Friko album, where we could do a whole video, for sure.
100%.
Scores for this one, what did you predict I would give it?
I was thinking that you were going to give it somewhere in the 70s, but now I'm thinking 80s. Like, low 80s.
Nope. high 80s. I gave this an 87, which does put it third for me, but
Mine was an Action 87.
we gave it the exact same score. That's crazy.
Yeah. I gave I Wish I Was Joking an 11 out of 10.
I think that's fine. I think you can. So I think it's really interesting that we came around by the end of their discography, because I have weird takes on the rest of. Like I said, this ends up being my third favorite after the self-titled and Little Dark Age, which is super weird. I know. So
I want you to know, though, that when I first started to actually delve into their discography versus just listening to the CDs I had, the self-titled was my favorite for a while.
Well, maybe I'll have a little bit of a progression then. We'll see. But regardless, we've come around to the same number on the most recent album somehow. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that just about wraps it up on that one. Probably the longest discussion we've had on here. So I'm not sure how long it'll turn out to be, but shit, that was a lot. Fucking okay. Next up, what do we have?
Job for a Cowboy, Moon Healer.
So this is another band, 2 in a row here, 2 of 3 in this episode that was pretty important to you for a long time.
Oh yeah, well okay, to be fair, for Job for a Cowboy, it was mostly their EP Doom. That was my like big one. I did have Gloom on CD, and I had Genesis and Ruination, but I don't think I've ever really gone into Demonocracy,
Demonocracy, I think it is.
Demonocracy, yeah. And I ended up, I can't remember if did I fuck with Sun Eater. Let me go check. Yeah, I did fuck with Sun Eater.
Yeah, I have heard their first EP as well. Again, mostly just from osmosis of being around you and kind of hearing it that way.
I was like, are you guys listening to metal? Have you ever heard of Job for a Cowboy?
Yeah, you were really repping for them during our shared deathcore phase.
Phase? I'm still in it.
Well, I mean, to an extent, it was kind of all we were listening to for a little while there. I was the Whitechapel guy, and you were the Job for a Cowboy guy.
But then Slaughter to Prevail came out.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And then we both fucked with them heavily.
I saw them live. That live show was fucking ripped. Besides Whitechapel sucked at that live show, unfortunately.
That's crazy. I haven't seen any deathcore band live, but
to be fair though, they played their worst album. It was like 28, and they were the 4th band to play, so everyone was tired.
Was that Mark of the Blade? Because that was their worst album, I think.
Yeah,
it
was.
Okay, that makes a lot
they
more
did play.
sense.
They did play the Saws the Law, which kind of went hard, but everyone was just too tired. Slaughter to Prevail played Hell twice, bro.
That's fucking incredible. So yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of nostalgia going into the deathcore era, but I guess Job for a Cowboy at this point has kind of progressed into, well, progressive metal, I suppose.
No. I like to call it space deathcore.
Space deathcore. That is one way to put it, and this is space deathcore, sure. We'll go with that.
Dude, I'm looking at the album covers, and the progression from like the go-ahead guy sitting on a chair to pointing up to standing up, then being in space.
To now just this like fucking DMT trip album cover. Like, what is happening here? It's insanity.
Just fucking Baldur's Gate when you meet the Mind Flayer, for all of our Baldur's Gate listeners.
I'm not familiar, but Jesus Christ.
You gotta play that game, bro. You gotta like come over and play it sometime.
Maybe I do have to. I've heard only good things. So if that's a point of reference, then I'm into it, because this album cover is so goofy, but I love it. It's just fucking insanity.
Dude, it's classic space deathcore.
Yeah, really, like, it does make me a little bit nostalgic. It makes me realize some, like, kind of corny things about modern metal, but it also is, like, very of an era with the entire aesthetic of this album in the outward with the album cover and just with some of the songs themselves.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Speaking of eras, I feel like Job for a Cowboy has just like the difference between fucking their Doom EP to now. I feel like their sound has just evolved to a point where it's like, it feels like more mature deathcore, if that makes sense. It's
Right.
not really a thing, but it feels like they're like trying harder.
They're definitely trying harder. They have evolved a lot and have a pretty strange trajectory if you really look at it.
I hope they keep making music, because this is like a step in the right direction
Oh, for sure.
from like their last 5 albums. I mean, Sun Eater was fine. Everything else is kind of like poopy a little bit. Like, I'm keeping
It's a little ugly looking back just because we're not in that MySpace deathcore era or the aftermath of it anymore.
MySpace and its consequences.
That's so funny. I think they were always kind of one of the better deathcore bands doing it when they had that sound, but that's like played out. You can't do that anymore. So now they're on technical metal and fucking
Space deathcore.
yeah. Like it's like a tech death influence going on with it though, which is interesting to see and definitely nice to see.
I feel like a proud father.
That's so great. Are you the proud son of MGMT then?
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. But actually diving in a little bit more to the sound of this, I think this thing sounds fucking sick.
Fucking, it rips, as you would say.
It really does. It rips,
Fucking,
man.
fucking rips, bro. Dude, I showed Car Shop on I go to my buddy Andy this fucking album. We went on like a 20-minute conversation just about fucking deathcore, and it was a real like, it was really nice to go back and see what I was listening to back then and what like everyone else was liking back then, to give more context to the band, like a little like refresher course.
Right.
So it definitely made me enjoy it more.
You definitely need a refresher course at this point because they've gone so far from their original sound and yet it still kind of calls back to it in ways. And it's been 10 fucking years since they've dropped anything. So there's that too. You would have been like 12.
Now I was 13 when Sun Eater came out.
Okay, well, either way, it's been a minute.
You know what's really funny though? Like right after Sun Eater came out, I was looking up best metal albums 2014, best metal albums releasing in 2015. that was my Google search history for like my middle school era. 'Cause my mother showed me, I think she showed me Metal Sucks. I don't know if that was around the time or after. I know she showed me that, and she showed me it was like not. It's like not rockabilly. It's fucking rockabilly. Some fucking like magazine. Where they had, like, new...
I know what you're talking about with both of those publications, and they definitely played a role in my taste at the time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back on those stupid music reviewers, idiots. Why would anyone do that?
Why would anyone review music?
Never.
Who would do such a thing? The actual sound of this, like, the bass playing on this is crazy. I love being able to hear bass. Oh my god.
Me too. But on track 3, 30 seconds in, hold on, let me like play it for myself so I'm not crazy. From like 26 seconds to like 44 seconds, the mixing and the bass went a little haywire, and you can't really hear it with headphones on. At least I can't with my headphones on. It's not that big of a deal. But in my car, for some reason, it just like sounded so weird. I was like, what the fuck?
Let me listen to this real quick to get a refresher.
I heard it especially at 32 seconds. I hear the bass like blow out the speaker a little bit.
I'm listening to it again. Hold on. I don't hear it. I'm sorry.
Okay, go back to 22 seconds, turn it up all the way, and listen to it until 32 seconds. All the way up.
Will do. It's kind of quiet right now. Oh.
Did you catch it?
Yeah, I kind of hear what's going on a little bit weird there.
So it doesn't make a difference in the album whatsoever, only because I heard it in, like, okay, not my car, my grandma's car, just amplified that twang.
I think that's like a very rare moment though. I think this album is produced fantastically. Like the mixing is so good.
It is, and that is why I point out this moment. The mixing is good enough for me to be able to hear that. Versus just being like garbage fucking toilet bowl.
I think the garbage toilet bowl is a really good way to describe a lot of modern metal, unfortunately. Like in the mixing, I mean specifically. It just like I'm so used to a stupid fat wall of sound where I can't pick anything out, but all of the instruments are very like clear from each other and the vocals are separated. Like things have their own channel to thrive in. There's a lot of space to the mixing here. It lets it breathe.
Let's see who mixed this album. I'm actually like curious and who like produced it.
Let's see, like mixing engineer based on Genius, see if it even has that. Where are your credits?
Is it just a band that mixes their own album?
I don't know. I can't find credits on mixing on this, and maybe I'm just stupid for not knowing how to find it, but...
One thing I know about all the like old school deathcore guys, Like not even like what I know, just what I know from like the small amount of like people I've interacted with in that scene, is that people usually mix their own shit. Even like more well-known bands.
Mm.
I could be talking on my ass, but like that is what I vaguely remember for the most part.
I feel like that is probably stopped happening then, because I think there's a definitive production style and like mixing style of modern metal that I hear a lot that's just disgusting. And it sounds very like commercialized, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have that at all. So if they're mixing their own stuff, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, the whole thing just sounds sick. Also, very surreal album. What are the lyrics here? Oh my god, it's so strange.
Whoa, any tracks you want to talk about?
I don't know if there's something to specifically point out in that way. Like, every song, the imagery's insane.
I met a random part of Grinding the Wheels of Ophium, the song we were mentioning earlier with the bass. My morns dim with response. Whatever, I'm too out of it. Read that. Erratically folding are my lungs.
Yeah, that's some of the more understandable things said here. Let me just dive into the crystalline threads real quick.
Metamorphosis into being of wheels within wheels.
That's fucking awesome. That's so sick. I love the weird phrases on here. Like, I just looked at a random line, and it's a devolving visual periphery with an exclamation mark at the end. My hallucinogenic reality germinates of mold. My fragmentation comes within the smell of burning within my own head to behold. What are you off about?
God, these are big words, bro.
There's so many big words, dude. It's so verbose.
All right.
They really busted out the thesaurus for this one to depict something. I don't even know what. It really matches the cover.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Any poopy tracks on here for you, or are they all just kind of like evening out?
There's only 8, and it's a pretty consistent sound throughout. I did pick a least favorite just because it made sense to. I didn't even do a top 3 best and worst just because there's only 8. But my least favorite was Etched in Oblivion. I mean, that had the mixing mishap you mentioned, so maybe that's fitting, but...
No. It was Grinding Wheels of Ophanum was the mixing error.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I just thought that maybe that one kind of wasn't the best follow-up to the starter. Like, the pacing was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But every song works together pretty damn well.
I have to agree with you.
How about you? Did you have a least favorite or any least favorites?
Yeah, it was track 2. It was Etched in Oblivion.
Okay.
Same reason. I wrote down pace, question mark.
Yeah. No, the pacing's weird on that one. So, I mean, maybe that's intentional because this thing is just very jarring and strange all throughout.
Bro, I fucking hate when people draw skulls with like eyeballs. It freaks me out.
It is so weird. Like, there's something very mid-2000s about the art style.
Like, that's not even where the eyes go in the skull, bro. Calm down. Like, oh my god, I'm just realizing this with the album cover. The nose is like clipping into the eye, and the eye is like popping out of the left socket.
It's so strange. Did you have a specific favorite?
The opener.
The opener? Mm.
It was a roller coaster when it started. So I was like, hell yeah. And then I was like, oh.
Oh, I got you. My favorite ended up being A Sorrow-Filled Moon. This is something I didn't get into at all when we were talking about it, but it reminds me a little bit of The Sound of Perseverance by Death, which is an awesome album.
Oh yeah, I hear it. Oh yeah. Yeah, this fucking rapes. What was your overall score?
76% on this one. How about you?
I gave it a 74.
Cool, yeah. It's kind of weird how I'm liking the bands that you grew up with slightly more than you, but
Yeah.
We'll take it.
It's probably because I'm more critical of them because I'm trying to not be biased.
Oh, that makes sense. And I feel like there is some inherent bias caked in with me as well, just because I am somewhat familiar, but either way.
Yeah, alright.
You know?
What's
Yeah.
up next?
We got Puzzle Teeth. Very underground Bandcamp exclusive type dealio here with Aural Solvent.
On Spotify Music.
Are they?
They're on Apple Music, yeah. That's where I listened to that.
Actually,
I had no idea it was on fucking Bandcamp.
That's a recent development, I think.
I added it to the playlist like as soon as we made the Google Doc,
Oh.
or as soon as we like talked about it.
Yeah, I don't know how long that's been the case at all, because I remember listening to Not Another Doppelganger back in 2023, and I'm pretty sure they were only on Bandcamp at that time. I could totally be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I had to go there specifically. But anyways, Noise album, first one we've talked about on here. Very cool, I think. What did you think?
The opener sounds like you're being kidnapped.
It is so uncomfortable. Like this,
I feel like I'm being kidnapped.
yeah, it really activates my fight or flight responses all the way through. I said that especially about the last song, actually. The way that it increases with pace around the halfway mark just like makes me panic. It's so strange.
Oh my god, I listened to this while high too, and I couldn't finish it while like Stony Baloney. It like freaked me the fuck out really bad.
Oh, I totally believe it. Listening to this sober makes me feel like uneasy. This is one of the more disturbing music listens I've honestly heard at all.
Yeah, I fucking hate the third track, the opener, the beginning of that track. It's just like, help.
It's kind of like got like a little like ASMR pop sound to it, like with the little pops and beeps and boops. It's very cool, I think, but also like quickly grows into a place that's very uncomfortable.
Oh, dude, you're the one that added Puzzle Teeth to the album of the year website.
Yes, I did, and there will be a review on there very shortly of it. I've been doing that. I've been adding some underground stuff, and we're covering some underground stuff, and this might be one of the more interesting sounding underground things we've touched on. I think it's really cool for a noise album as well, just because there's such a wide diversity of sounds. If I listen to something like Pulse Demon, which is the first place your mind usually goes for noise, that's like the same sounds throughout. This has got a lot of textures, especially for its 27-minute runtime.
Got a lot of textures, and they're all slimy.
They're all like just stabbing you in the face as well. This thing's fucking
It's like
brutal.
it's like those indie game, like VHS tape indie games.
What do you mean?
You ever like play one of those like VHS tape indie games?
I have not.
Go look up Power Drill Massacre.
Power Drill Massacre, okay.
Look it up on YouTube.
I'm soaking up the vibes of this visual aesthetic, and it does kind of match in a way. It's very like obscured but uncanny and kind of dark and freaky at the same time. Like there's a lot going on visually that does match in a strange way. On somewhat of a similar note, they would be very good at soundtracking an artsy horror movie or like some analog horror stuff. Any super crazy moment of an A24 horror movie, okay? If you had this going on in the background, it would just make it freakier and it would fit so well.
I'm gonna actually stop playing it because it's actually making me have a bad vibe. I'm listening to the album, the EP is going through it, and it's ruining my entire vibe.
It's a vibe destroyer, but like in the best way possible.
Vibe obliterator.
I think it's an impressive as fuck vibe destroyer, if we are to again use that. It's also like got this weird science theme to it. Aural solvent, just like in the title itself. I mean, a solvent is a scientific term, and then, you know, aural being like auditory is a more technical term for that. So it's like them scientifically saying they're going to destroy your fucking ears. And then I told you this through text earlier, and I'm not sure if you actually saw it yet. The first track, A. Bogorsky, I believe is the pronunciation, actually refers in name, more than likely, to a Russian physicist named Anatoly Bogorsky. God, that's a mouthful, I'm sorry. He is like most well known, or like a significant thing about him anyways, is that he survived an accident where a protein beam from a particle accelerator pass through his brain. And yes, I'm reading that verbatim from what I said because that's so many big words, but I think that incident is likely the inspiration for this song, because I don't really know what these things mean because I'm not smart, but if I were to guess what it sounds like to get a protein beam from a particle accelerator pass through your brain, it would probably sound something like this first track here.
Easily.
Easily.
What was your overall scoring of the EP? I'm not going to ask for a favorite or least favorite track because it's 3 fucking tracks.
I mean, yeah, and if we are to do that, I think the final one's my favorite and the second one's my least favorite, but it's not by much at all. It's just one's a 9 and one's an 8. This is an 88% for me. It's the best noise project I think I've heard.
Oh, yeah. From noise rock? Yeah, easily.
Yeah, just like actual industrial like noise music. I'm not talking about like noise rock.
Yeah. I don't know. If I said noise rock, my bad.
No, that's okay. But I think this is by far the most captivating release that I've heard, and like it actually keeps me intrigued as well as keeping me fucking disturbed all the way through. So I really got to give them props.
And I haven't listened to a lot of just straight up noise, like industrial noise bands or albums. So I don't really have a lot coming into this. What was your like overall scoring given your background?
Did I say the number already? I think I said I gave it an 88%.
Probably, but I fucking blanked for a second. I gave it an 80.
You gave it an 80? Yeah, that totally makes sense. I've tried to get into noise music a few times. To be completely honest with you, it goes as far as listening to Pulse Demon and then being like, ouch, more oftentimes than not.
Pulling up to the function, blasting Pulse Demon.
I have jump scared people with that album before as like a prank.
I do 20 Frankie is my go-to jump scare.
Oh, fucking Frankie Teardrop.
Oh, dude, when you were driving, doing DoorDash, and I was just in your house playing Suicide on your Spotify and your computer.
Yes. That's what I've done to people before with fucking Mertzbo before. And I've listened to some other Mertzbo projects a little bit as well. There's a few artists that I've been like, oh, what is the name? Like, the let me see.
Gregorian?
Let me look at it. The okay. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to pull this up, but I don't know how it's spelled. There's a band with like a super weird
I know what you're talking about.
It's like Grigororgerigeri or something like that. It's
Yeah,
like
I
fucking
show me them.
mismatched crazy word. I've dove into them a little bit before too, but this is like the only noise album that I'm like, wow, this actually fucking slaps.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if we have anything else to say about the sounds of actual hell mixed with a little bit of sci-fi. So
It's on the way to hell. It's not on the way to hell.
I feel like if there was like a news story that came out where it was like, scientists have captured the sound of hell, this is what we would hear. And again, I mean that all in a good way. All of the fucked up things I say about this album in very good ways, because it's a crazy album that is shocking and disturbing, but very cool. So I think that's all we have to say, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and the final album for the week, we can move on to Amigo the Devil, Yours Until the War Is Over.
Walked into the gas station store, yelling, lie, don't start to cry, just give me what I want and I'll go. Lie, put the money inside, 'cause no one wants to die in a Texaco. Wondered if our daughter could also see it. You were howling in the corner while the doctor asked us questions. I'm going to heaven, that's a fact. Oh, I'm going to heaven, and I won't come back. I'm gonna laugh and I'll praise my way to heaven.
His fourth album, I believe. I said right, fourth or third.
Something like that. I'm not exactly sure like what all is EPs and what's actual albums on his page.
Technically 4 albums because Volume 1 is a fucking album, but collection. It's a collection of tracks.
Oh, I see.
Because a lot of the tracks on Volume 1 were remade for Everything Is Fine, which is just technically his debut album. They came out the same year. And then he came out with a fucking heater in 2021 with Born Against.
Gotcha. Have I heard that one?
Yeah, and he thought it was alright, which is fair.
Okay, gotcha.
His newest album, Yours Until the World Is Over, definitely still has that, like, he's called his sound murder folk before, but people call it like Americana, dark folk, gothic country, folk punk, all that shit. It's just fucking cowboy music.
It's cowboy music?
Not even cowboy music, it's just modern outlaw country at this point.
That's true. Yeah, I think that can really be seen on some of the storytelling songs, have an outlaw country vibe.
Trail song vibe.
Yeah. I was getting a little bit of bluegrass even.
Yeah.
Anytime like a banjo touches the mix, I'm like, okay, you're pulling from all the folk.
Yeah, and a little bit of background from Amigo the Devil 2. He's actually from Milwaukee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that why you kind of go way back with him as well? Did you just discover him from like being somewhat of a local?
Yeah, actually, like he came up on my Spotify recommended because I was at the music store in Baraboo, and the guy who bought it was telling about his band. This came up with the recommended of his band.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So kind of the local scene. I think he's gaining a little bit of traction. Like you got a critic review on here. I noticed that fairly big publication touched on it and loved it at that.
I think he's fairly popular. Let me check his Spotify stats. Like he definitely like has been doing things in the fucking crusty goth community.
Love the crusty goth community.
I feel like I fall into that quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's got 400,000 on Spotify, which for this genre is huge.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's bigger than I thought. That is huge. So he's making waves. He's doing some shit, and it sounds pretty cool, I think.
Wow, he's more popular than the Bridge City Sinners right now.
I don't know who that is.
We'll get into it at a different time.
Okay, gotcha. You have the context of being a longtime fan. I have heard one of his albums, and I wasn't sure which one it was. So that's the only context I have.
Oh, then the album you heard was his collection of tracks, Volume 1. That's what I played around you.
Oh, okay, cool. I remember kind of liking it. How do you feel about this as a fan?
As a fan, this was fun. This was like more of the same.
Okay.
There wasn't any tracks that really like made me like fuck yes go on a playlist. But like if I'm in the mood for this album, I might come back to it. Otherwise, I'll just keep playing songs from Volume 1 and a couple tracks from Born Against.
I see. I am curious to dive into his earlier albums more thoroughly now, because I have, again, heard quite a bit of it just from being around you and everything as well, too. But I don't know. I thought that there was a little bit of a concept to this one. Like, it seems like there's a pretty cohesive theme throughout it, but I don't know if that was fully executed, and I think I see the potential for a really cohesive album. Would you say he has one already?
He needs to make a concept album about a murderer or something, because he keeps, like, tickling the taint of it.
That would be so sick, genuinely.
Yeah.
Because I loved the songs that portray a character on here.
Yeah, and those are usually his best songs in general. I'm going to call it his first album just because it's his first, like, album to me. And Everything Is Fine, because it shares a lot of tracks with Volume 1. They came out the same year.
Okay.
Songs like I Hope Your Husband Dies. That was always, like...
Oh, I remember that one.
That was always a good one. Both versions were really good. First Day of the End of My Life was a really... that song make you cry. If you want to cry, go listen to the First Day of the End of My Life, because it's just a side note.
I think a lot of this album could make you cry a little bit if you're in the right mood.
Oh, 100%. He's got a lot of, like, Letters from Death Row type songs, and he's even got a song on his last album called Letter from Death Row.
Yeah, that's kind of how the opener feels, because the whole thing seems to be like nooses and like hanging a person. The second verse is obviously more intentional. I'm skirting around a word that YouTube doesn't like, but the first verse, it seems like a criminal being, I think, is the point of view from where he's writing.
YouTube doesn't like you gotta say, well, let's say taking fall damage in Minecraft.
Okay, it seems like a criminal taking fall damage in Minecraft, and then the second verse seems to be intentionally taking fall damage in Minecraft. So there's like a God, this is so fucked. There's like a theme to it, but yeah, I can see where you're coming from because that does seem to be the perspective of the very opening song of this album.
Oh yeah.
I think all of the ones where he's portraying a character like that are just really impressive from a songwriting. If we are to judge it just based on how good he is at painting a picture with his words, those ones are excellent.
He's an excellent
He's a great
storyteller.
storyteller.
I
Yeah.
I would listen to him like read audiobooks.
Yeah, that would actually be great now that you say it, because very good at describing a scene.
Amigo the Devil.
He could write a book.
Please write a book and or record an audiobook.
That'd be awesome. Either way. I think it's interesting that a lot of those storytelling songs are the first half of the album, and then it seems like we kind of get two interludes with Beryl and Staghorn as well as Agnes. And then it seems like there's a definitive second and first half of this album. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, the second half seems more personal to me.
When he does that, I always hope it's like he just do like a concept album with like 4 people. Like 4 different people. Like it could be like what's that one movie that has like the Buster Scruggs in it? I'll go look that up.
I'm not sure.
Hold on, I'll find it out. It's called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar.
It's just a few different like Wild West stories about like Wild West stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a few things like that movie-wise.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But that could be cool.
Like make a musical. It's just that easy.
Yeah, if something was a like real storyline front to back as an album, that would be super sick. Because I like the more personal songs, but I don't feel like they're as interesting.
That definitely holds the album back too.
Yeah.
And just the fact that it could be something more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like right there at the same time. I don't know what the fuck to say about it exactly, because I'm just like, ugh, there's just so many things you could just be doing more of. Leaves me wanting more.
Leaves you wanting more? I don't know. As somebody kind of coming to it for the first time, I really loved the first half and I'm super impressed with it. And then when he gets into a more personal bag, I'm like, these are good-ish. I genuinely just didn't like One Day at a Time because it seems like him pushing the humor and irony too far. But other than that, you had Cannibal Within, Virtue and Vitriol. Stray Dog was kind of like that. And then the spoken word outro was kind of sort of like that as well. And all of those ones end up being my least favorites on the album just because it doesn't seem like there's layers like I want. The first half is so good at storytelling and portraying a specific character, whereas those ones are just kind of, okay, you're putting a lot of emotion in and that's cool, but these songs are nothing special that I'm specifically going to remember.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. One Day at a Time ended up being my least favorite.
I'm glad I'm somewhat justified in that assessment because, yeah, I just don't fuck with that one. And it's really a standout in that way, just that I don't care about that song because the rest of them I found something to like. I'd say the exception is Garden of Leaving. That one's, like, tragic. That one's a fucking heartbreaking song. The narrative there is like, ouch.
I've been listening to Amigo the Devil so long, he can't break my heart no more. I expect it.
You expect it? That one kind of came out of left field for me, and I was like, oh, shit, okay, we're doing that theme. That's a heavy theme. Okay, cool, swag. Thanks for punching me in the face with emotions.
Dude, literally me being 17, smoking a bowl, listening to the first day of the last day of my life, I'm just like, why would you do this to me?
Right. It's a album that'll get some powerful emotions out of you, I think. I think this one's good at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was your favorite track?
My favorite track on here is Once Upon a Time in Texaco.
Yes.
No one wants to die in a Texaco is my new favorite sentence. Is that how it's phrased? Let me see real quick. Yeah, no one wants to die in a Texaco, yeah.
That's awesome.
That song is so good. Oh my god, it tells such a good story. And it's very edgy, but it has a dark humor to it as well. That's like, oh my god. It's so good. It's just so well executed for the idea that he had. Such a great song.
Yeah, bro.
How about you?
Once Upon a Time in Texaco, Part 1 was also my favorite. I always like his songs about robbing things and killing people in the thing that you're robbing. Like Murder at the Bingo Hall. That was a pretty good one on his last album.
I want to go listen to that now.
I compared this album to his last album so much, just because this one just kind of feels like a slightly worse version of it.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely have to go back and check out that album then. I'm excited too now. I already mentioned Garden of Leaving is great, and then I'm Going to Heaven seems like the second best narrative song.
Yes.
That one was a little bit surreal and strange with like the religious imagery coming through in it, and I thought that was really cool. And my cat's attacking my chair.
No, dude, the opening track. I got time and I'm full of hate, loaded on ketamine and heartbreak.
Yeah. What a phrase there, man.
99% of Amigo the Devil listeners be like,
For real. Yeah. I think we kind of ran through least favorites. We both said One Day at a Time, and then I think Cannibal Within and Virtue and Vitriol were songs that just aren't gonna leave a lasting impression on me in the long run.
unfortunately, too, Cannibal Within was the single for this album, and I was really unhappy with it, so I was not excited with the album.
Oh, what a poor choice of single. Because that's definitely like one of the least instantly ear grabbing and like really captivates your attention type of tracks. I don't think that one has a lot that stands out about it, if that makes any sense.
That single almost made me not want to talk about the album. That's why I was like on the fence the first couple seconds.
Well, it's good that he brought a lot that was much more interesting than that, especially on the front half.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty impressed overall, genuinely.
that's good. This is definitely like a decent intro because if you like this, you'll like the rest of it.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm excited to check that all out. So if you're listening here and that also applies to you, then yeah, maybe give that back catalog a try. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say it's accurate forever.
Forever. What was your final score?
I ended up giving it a 72, which is a lot lower than I feel like it could have been.
I went with a 74 because I was a little bit lukewarm again on some parts, but I was so impressed by other parts.
Yeah, 'cause if the back half was better.
Yeah. Yeah, then it would be perfect, potentially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that concludes all of the albums to run through for the week, meaning we can go ahead and move on to our final section unless you had anything else to say about that album.
I don't, but I do have to go.
Okay. So you got to run and then I'll just run through that. Is that cool with you?
Sure.
All right. Adios. So then coming in for our rankings for the week, MGMT's album ended up being our tippity top at 87%, quite predictably. Then we have Puzzle Teeth's Aural Solvent coming in at an average of 84% between the two of us. Excellent noise record if you're into that. And Job for a Cowboy's Moon Healer came in at third place for the week at a 75%. And Amigo the Devil's Yours Until the War Is Over, really cool little folk record at 73%. And then unfortunately coming in all the way at the bottom was I Don't Know How But They Found Me's somewhat disappointing, I would say, album Gloom Division at 67.5%. So some pretty great stuff. I think MGMT is the big hitter for the week for sure, and I think that's what everybody should go ahead and check out, especially if you're a fan of them already. It's a very nice wraparound moment, but I guess that's about it. And make sure to drop a like on the video if you did enjoy what you saw here today. Subscribe to the channel for more music related content in the future, and we will see you next time.